Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Today I'm going to showcase my Cyanide Jelly Drover deck. And first of all I just want to get into what is Cyanide Oil? Who is she? Well, she's a 4-mana 2/2 legendary creature human wizard, which of course means that she can be your commander. And she says, when Cyanide Jelly Drover enters or dies, create a 1/1 blue jellyfish creature token with flying, and creatures you control with flying get +1/+1. So she both make tokens for your deck and gets them bigger. And of course that's not just the tokens, it's all your flying creatures that get bigger. But again, it is important that they're flying creatures, so this is like a flying tribal deck basically, right? And with that said, I think we'll get into some of the cards in the deck. The first card that I wanted to mention in this deck is basically the draw suite, because I made this deck to work like basically just you draw a vast majority of your deck in this deck, because you're gonna make a lot of tokens, and then you're gonna swing it into your opponent, which means that it is pretty much optimal for you to use cards like Coastal Piracy. Which Coastal Piracy is of course an enchantment that says whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. And that's kind of the effect that I've chosen to go with in this deck. This also means that if an opponent doesn't have flying blockers, you're just gonna send basically all of your flying blocker or flying attackers, I suppose in this case, at them specifically to get more cards, right? And with more cards, you can get removal, you can get protection pieces, stuff like that. So just swing everything at them, it's fine. In addition to that, we have Reconnaissance Mission and Biden of Fasa, which are basically the exact same card, just one is an artifact and the other one has cycling, so like pretty cool. And then we have Curiosity Crafter, which says you have no maximum hindsight and is a flying creature in addition to that, so that's also a pretty good card. Next up, we have Windreader Sphinx, and this is like a strictly worse version. Like, of course, it's still a flying creature, which is nice, but it also costs 7 mana instead of 4, so that's pretty bad. Then we have Fab the Spy Network, which is actually pretty good, but also somewhat situational, because you do need to have artifact creatures in play, which of course this card does make Fabtus for you that can attack your opponents, which is nice as well. Really cool card, but it's a lot better if you have more artifact generators. Now, in addition to these like actually good draw cards, we also have some like less good draw cards that aren't nearly as dependent on you having a board state already. And these cards are more like to get you going and to like start finding your bigger draw spells, your bigger token generators, stuff like that. Just so you like can get going. And the first one is Wizard class, which of course it has you have no maximum hand size for 1 mana, pretty good. And then you can level it up for 3 mana, and then you draw 2 cards. So yeah, that's pretty good. And it has another ability. I basically never used that. And we have Muldrifter, which is both a flying creature, but you can also just cast it for its evoke cost and draw 2 cards. Pretty cool. Then we have Tide Skimmer, which is a flying creature as well, 4 mana. And then whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, you draw a card. Of course, with flying. So this is one of the creatures, and you get one from your commander, so you always have 2 creatures in most cases, right? Idol of Oblivion, you can tap it to draw a card if you create a token this turn, which is the primary ability of this card. Pretty cool card in the deck that makes a lot of tokens. Then we have Military Intelligence. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, draw a card. Also pretty easy to do. We have the Filer of Dreams, which basically you can pay 2 life, except for like blue mana in your spells, which is just really good mana cheating, I suppose. And then whenever you cast a blue permanent, you draw a card. Also a pretty good card. Then we have Loyal Drake, which is Lieutenant, which basically just means if you control your commander at the beginning of combat, you draw a card. And then it's also a flying creature, which is nice. Lastly, we have Mu Yanling Windrider, which isn't actually all that great, but she is pretty cool. She makes a free 2 colorless vehicle artifact creature with 2/1, and then she makes all of your vehicles have flying. So if you want to go like a vehicle route, she's a pretty cool commander to build with. But the primary ability here that we're looking at is whenever 1 or more creatures you control with flying deal combat damage to a player, you draw a card. And it's like the 1 or more creatures that kind of ruins this card, because it means that every combat you'll only be able to draw 1 card, because you know all of the creatures deal combat damage at the same time, so the more effect triggers, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is, right? So 1 card each turn, but it's still a pretty good card, and it makes you a crew token that's like somewhat big actually, and with your commander out, it's like a 4/3, so pretty cool card as well. But that's basically the entire draw suite. There are some cards that like fill different purposes as well, that we'll get into a bit later, that also can draw your cards, but that's pretty much all of them. Anyways, as some of the more observant guys among you might have noticed, a lot of these draw spells rely on you actually having creatures in play with flying. So I want to get over some of like the creature token generation stuff I have in the deck. The first one is Aether Channeler, which can function as a bit of it's a bit of a like filler card that like does a lot of different things. It's a 2/1 human wizard, and when it enters, you either create a 1/1 bird with flying, you return another permanent to its owner's hand, or you draw a card. So it can function as a bit of a like a niche tech card if you want something specific, right? Then we have Mischievous Mystic, which is flying, and whenever you draw a second card each turn, you create a 1/1 blue fairy with flying. So it's a flying creature, and it makes flying creatures as well. Pretty nice. Wing War disable. Oh, Wing Blade disable, that's the wrong name, Jesus Christ. Anyways, it's a 2/2 flyer, which is again nice, and then it has flurry, which means whenever you cast your second spell each turn, it does something, and in this case, it creates a 1/1 white bird with flying. So it's a bit similar to Mischievous Mystic. Next up, we have some of the like bigger token generators in the deck. We have Shadow Puppeteers. Basically, it's a flying Ward 2 fairy, and when it enters the battlefield, you create 2/1/1 black fairy tokens with rogues. You get 3 flyers, and then whenever a creature you control with flying attacks, you have it become a red dragon with base power 4/4 in addition to its other types and colors until end of turn. So basically, with a Sonnet on your battlefield and Shadow Puppeteers on your battlefield, all your flyers become 5/5 flyers. And if you have another sort of like Anthem effect or something like that in play, they become even bigger than that. So pretty good card. And then we have Faptor Assembly, which is a 6-mana 5/5 flyer, which of course is nice, but at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control no Faptors other than Faptor Assembly, you return Faptor Assembly to its owner's hand and create 5 1/1 colorless Faptor artifact creature tokens with flying. This isn't like the best card, but it is a pretty easy way to get a lot of flying creatures out early. Then we have we have the Sharding Sphinx. Anyways, a 6-mana 4/4 flyer. Whenever an artifact you control deals combat damage to a player, you may create a 1/1 blue Faptor artifact creature with flying. Of course, this works really nice with like the artifact cards I mentioned earlier, like of course Faptor Assembly. But yeah, pretty good card, and it can get out of hand really fast if you're lucky. Next up, we have a like smaller sub package in this theme, and that is clone spells. A lot of you guys, if you've gone on like Cynet's EDH reg page, you've probably seen some of these spells. Basically, the idea is like there is like the legend rule in Commander, which means, or not just in Commander, in any format, I'm pretty sure. But like if you make a copy of your Commander, one of those copies dies, because you're gonna have one legendary creature out at a time with the same name, right? So you can't have 2 Cynet Jelly Drovers. It's a one-off, right? So basically, if you copy your Commander and make a clone of the Commander, you can make the clone die, and then you get the death trigger and the enter the battlefield trigger of your Sonnet, which means if you clone Sonnet, you get 2 1/1 jellyfishes, which is pretty cool, right? And of course, the original Sonnet stays alive. So the first card that does this is Wrath of Application. For 4 mana, you can create a token that's a copy of target creature. But if you pay 5 additional mana, which means if you play 9 mana, you can create 5 of those tokens instead. So that's 10 1/1s, which is pretty cool, right? Then we have Moonlit Meditation, which has enchant artifact or creature control. The first time you create 1 or more tokens each turn, you may instead create that many tokens that are copies of enchanted permanent. This basically just means that once each turn, when you create a token, which is always going to be a 1/1 pretty much, right? You create a copy of Sonnet, which then makes 2 1/1s instead. So it's just a token doubler once. Pretty cool card. Next we get into some of the like more iffy cards. We have Thousand Faced Shadow. It is flying in Ninjutsu 4. When Thousand Faced Shadow enters the battlefield from your hand, if it was attacking, create a token that's a copy of another target attacking creature. The token enters the battlefield tapped and attacking. This is pretty niche. It can be pretty good late game if you have like some big creatures they're swinging with. But other than that, you can of course on your Sonnet early game if you have the ability to swing into someone without Sonnet dying, you know. So yeah, pretty cool card. We have, as well as that, we have Extravagant Replication. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of another target permanent you control. Also just pretty nice. It is 6 mana though, but it's 6 mana every turn you create 2 1/1s, right? So pretty cool card. And then we have Maneldor, Swift Savior. This isn't actually like a clone spell, it just like exiles a creature and then returns it to the battlefield. Which of course is pretty nice. You make then of course only 1 token, but it's only 4 mana, and I had this card in my collection. A lot of these clone spells is just stuff I had in my collection, so don't look too much into it. You can find better clone spells online if you want to. Then we have Followed Footstep, another good example of this. It's an aura, and at the beginning of your upkeep, put a token that's a copy of enchanted creature onto the battlefield. Again, 2 1/1s every upkeep. It's a pretty decent effect, but a bit expensive as well. Then we have Phantom Steed, where Phantom Steed enters the battlefield and exile another target creature control until Phantom Steed leaves the battlefield. This is a flesh creature, so it also functions as like protection, which is pretty cool. And when Phantom Steed attacks, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of the exiled creature, except it's an illusion in addition to its other type, and then you sacrifice that token at the end of combat. This is pretty cool. The only thing that's a bit problematic with this is that you of course lose the Anthem effect out of combat, so you won't have nearly as good blockers, but other than that, it's a pretty good card, and you make like a lot of tokens. So I think Phantom Seed is pretty damn good, especially because you sacrifice a token instead of like exiling it or something like that. So you do get both triggers. So really cool card. Only 4 mana, you create 2 tokens, and you still get the Anthem effect. So pretty cool card. Speaking of cool cards, though, we have some other like pretty cool cards that didn't really have like a specific place that they fit in. The first one is Favorable Winds, which is basically just an anthem for your flying creatures. They get +1/+1. Then we have Gamasoa and Guide Gamasoa, which is just jellyfishes, but they are pretty cool blockers. And like jellyfish is pretty on theme with like Signet. They aren't good cards, but they're like actually surprisingly good blockers, right? Then you have Archetype of Imagination, which just says that your creatures are flying and your opponent's creatures can't have and lose flying. And pretty good card, can help you finish out some games, which basically just makes all of your creatures unblockable, unless your opponents, of course, have reach and stuff like that. Then we have Stormtide from the Weapon, which pretty recently actually helped you win a game. It has Island Walk, and then all lands are islands in addition to the other types, which means this one can just swing for free every turn. But of course, other than that, it has creatures without flying or Island Walk can attack. So basically, unless someone else is playing a lot of flyers, you're pretty much the only one who's going to be able to attack. Pretty damn cool card. So yeah. Also, like the cards I wanted to mention really quickly. I also just quickly want to mention some potential upgrades for the deck here in like the spell section of the video. We have Gravitational Shift and Kindred Discovery. These are like 2 pretty damn good cards. Kindred Discovery I decided not to go with because I didn't want to make this like an actual tribal deck. But if you do want to go with like Jellyfish Tribal or like Fopto Tribal or something like that, I would highly recommend Kindred Discovery. It's a bit more on the expensive side, but it's also a pretty damn good card in this deck, right? Next up we have Gravitational Shift, of course, as I mentioned earlier, which is just goated in this deck. I couldn't manage to get my hands on a copy of it, but it's really, really good. It just gives all their creatures +2/+0, and all your opponent's creatures pretty much -2/-0. So really, really good card. Would recommend if you have like the either money or like are able to fight these cards, to recommend them, like put them in the deck. So yeah, I just wanted to mention those cards really quickly, and we'll move on to the next package, which is gonna be removal. And the first card that I want to mention here is Muyanling Skydance. This is actually like a proper removal spell, but a lot of these cards that are like removal spells, like in quotes, right, are just spells that will help you remove your opponent's flying creatures. So that's like pretty much what I built my removal suite around, because I wanted to be able to attack over your opponent. Of course, if they're playing a flying deck, that's gonna be pretty damn difficult, but you'll still be able to do something, right? So again, Muyanling, the primary abilities here are the +2 and -3. The +2 says until end of turn, until one target creature gets -2 and loses flying, which will allow you to get through, like, I don't know, someone with a big dragon or something, right? And then -3, create a 4/4 blue elemental bird creature token with flying, which is also pretty damn good. Then we have Imprisoned in the Moon. This is like a pretty damn nasty card in Commander, because you can just enchant someone's commander, of course, and then it's a land, and it's pretty damn hard to get rid of it unless they have champion removal or land destruction. So pretty damn hard to get rid of. Then we have Eaten by Piranhas, a bit easier to get rid of. It has flash though, and it says enchanted creature is a 1/1 skeleton and uses all abilities. Unable to scream, pretty similar that, except it's a 0/2 toy. Witness protection, again pretty similar. It's a 1/1 legitimate business person. We have Resculpt though, which is a bit like not nearly similar. Exiles target creature or artifact, and then its controller creates a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token, which is of course pretty bad, but again we don't really care about that because we have a lot of like small flying chump blockers if we do need to block something, right? So it's fine as long as it doesn't have flying. That's cool. Then you have Get Out, which is both a counter spell and you can return 2 creature cards and or enchantments to your own hand. So it's also a bit of a protection piece if you want to. Again, of course, when you're talking about counterspells, we also have counterspell, of course. Lofty Denial is like a strictly worse version of counterspell, but it's pretty damn synergistic with this deck. Damn, that was hard to say. Anyways, yeah, counterattack spell unless you control plays 1, or if you control a creature with flying, it's unless they pay 4 instead. So pretty damn hard to like get out of this one, right? Then you have Wizard's Retort, which if you control your commander, who is a wizard, this is just a normal counterspell. In a bit similar vein to like the other removal spells, we have stuff like actual just like protection pieces. We have Swiftfoot Boots, which of course you guys probably know. We just Hexproof and Haste with a Cube 1. We have March with the Swelling Mist, which is really, really good in this deck, mostly because you draw a crap ton of cards. At least if you're like popping off, March with the Swelling Mist is really, really nice. It says an additional cost to cast a spell. You may exile any number of blue cards from your hand. The spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled this way, and then X target creature's faces out. This can of course be used as a protection spell, but it can also be used to like, you know, clear your opponent's board pretty much until like their next upkeep, right? So you can just swing at them without any real worries. We also have Slip Out the Back, which is pretty much only a protection spell, but you can use it to like get rid of a flying blocker. And then we have Stolen by the Fae, return target creature with mana value X to its owner's hand, and then you create X1 on a blue fairy tokens with flying. Pretty damn good card. Then we have, because of the swine, exile X target creatures. For each creature exiled this way, its controller creates a 2/2 green ball. Again, this isn't really like protection per se, whereas the others were. Now we're getting into like the more like board wipey stuff. Pretty good card as well. Has to be close out games as well, because it gets rid of flying. That's like the main thing you run this for. Then we have protection text. Choose one, return all creature tokens to the owner's hand. This is pretty bad in most cases. Or return all non-token creatures to the owner's hand. This is pretty good against pretty much all dragon decks, so pretty good card. Then we have Fairy Slumber Party. Return all creatures to the owner's hand. For each opponent who controls the creature this way, you create 2 1/1 blue creature fairy tokens with flying. And this creature can block only creatures to flying. Also a pretty damn good card. It's basically just a board wipe, and then you play a commander or like another anthem or something like that if you have mana for it, and then next you just completely wipe the enemies because like you return so many creatures to their hands, right? Also a pretty damn good card. Before we get into like the land section of this video, I quickly want to mention the ramp section first. Or not actually ramp, I suppose, just like mana section, I suppose, I guess. I don't know what it's called really. But we do have got a good chunk of like ramp spells in the deck because, of course, we draw a crap ton of cards, so we also want mana to play those cards. The first one I mention is Wayfarer's Bubble, which is pretty much just goaded if you draw it turn 1, then you can sack it turn 2, and switch library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield tapped. We of course have Soul Ring and Arcane Second. I don't need to explain what those cards do. We have Heraldic Banner. When it is, you choose a color, then creatures of the color get +1/+0, and it also taps for mana. So you can just choose blue, and then all of the tokens get +1/+0, unless they're like another color tokens, but like that happens sometimes, but not all that often. Then we have Relic of Legends. It's a 3 mana artifact, but again, you can tap for 1 mana of any color, and then you can tap your untapped legendary creatures for mana as well, which means of course Signet, but you also have other cards like Muyan Ling in the deck that we also able to tap. So pretty damn good card. We have the Can of Endless Water, which is tap for 1 mana of any color, and you have no maximum hand size. Kefnet's Monument, which is just blue creatures both cost 1 to cast, and whenever you cast a spell, target creature under control doesn't untap the owner's controller's untaps them. So also like a way to get past flying blockers as well. And we have Machine God's Effigy, which can come into the battlefield as a copy of any creature, except it's also an artifact and has tap, add for blue. Or you can just place a 4 mana rock, which taps for blue, which is pretty ass, but you can do the other thing as well, which is probably better. We have Ornithopter of Paradise, which is also a creature that is flying and can tap for 1 mana any color for 2 mana. This basically just means that you can use it to attack your opponents and draw more cards as well if you want to do that. We have Thieving Skydiver, which is flying, and Kicker X, where the X cost can't be 0, so at least 1, which you can pay like 1 mana for the kick cost, and you can steal a Soul Ring or something like that. And pretty good card, it's flying as well, so of course you can hit your opponents with it as well. Then we have Warden of Evo's Isle, creature spells with flying cost 1 less to cast. Pretty good card as well, also as flying, so you can hit your opponents in the face with it. And then we have Summons Simulacrum as the last card in this package. That says, when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for basic land cards, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle, and then when it dies, you draw a card. Also a pretty damn good card, and it's a pretty damn good blocker in this deck as well. Anyways, the last package that I want to get into in this deck is the mana base. And the mana base is actually pretty important. I know some guys just don't really care about mana bases, but it's pretty important also in a monocolor deck. Now this deck is pretty old, so there are some cards that I would have probably included if I knew they existed, and like it was like probably into Magic at the time that I made this deck. But anyways, we run 38 lands total in this deck, which is enough to like get you going, and then you can draw into more lands pretty easily. And we have 30 islands in the deck, which I would actually like to be a bit less and have more utility lands in the deck, but it's fine. 30 islands is all good. And again, you don't need utility lands, they just make the deck a lot better. Like speaking of utility lands, of course, we have Reliquary Tower, which just says you have no maximum hand size and tap for colorless. We have Riptide Laboratory, which taps for colorless, and then you can pay 2 mana to return target wizard you control on his hand, so it's also a protection piece. We have Ghost Quarter, which taps for colorless, and then you can sacrifice it to destroy a target land. This is pretty good if your opponent plays something like, I don't know, like the Gate deck, right? And then you can like disrupt their plan with this, right? We have Castle Vantress, which enters the battlefield tapped to control an island, which you'll probably always do. And then you can pay 4 mana to scry 2. It's just a pretty decent card that like gets you some amount of card advantage if you need something specific in the early game. We have Demolition Field, also pretty similar to like Ghost Quarter, so like just land destruction. Then we have Myriad Landscapes. It's just tapped, but you can sacrifice it for 2 mana and search for 2 basic land cards and put them onto the battlefield tapped. We also have Temple of the False Gods, which taps for 2 mana, active only for control of 5 or more islands, which can screw you in very specific niche cases where you don't have 5 islands, or like 5 like lands, but like most of the time it'll be fine. And then we have Exit Tunnel, which taps for colors, and then you can pay 3 mana and target creature with power 3 or less can be blocked this turn. Not really the greatest card, but it is like worth running if your opponents all have like flying block or something. You can just use this to get through if you really, really need it. Speaking of getting through stuff, congratulations, you made it through the video. And yeah, I'm pretty much done with the video at this point. I was want to thank you guys for watching the video, and also remember to say, what's it called? Like, yeah, you should remember to like and subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. Although I don't know if that actually does anything. I never do it myself, but like if you want to do it, that would be pretty cool. And yeah, leave a comment, stuff like that. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Go watch some of my other videos if you want to, and you don't enjoy this video. I have recently like figured out how to improve my audio quality, so the audio quality on my older videos are a bit worse, but I still think it's watchable at the very least. So yeah, if you want to watch something else, I have another couple of deck takes. I have some tips and tricks for deck building and stuff like that. So yeah, go watch that if you want to, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.